you will hopefully learn a lot about branding that you might not have known before. You know, branding is something, one of those things that everyone knows a lot about in a way, but none of us know very much. And so I'm kind of starting at the base, at the bottom. It's kind of an overview. It will not go into, we won't be spending a lot of time on any one aspect of it, but hopefully you get the big picture and we'll know more how to make yours do what you'd like it to. Branding is something that has gotten a lot of bad rap. A lot of people think, I don't want to have anything to do with branding. It has to do with ownership, possession, having to sell yourself and compromising yourself to meet other people's needs, and just not a very positive thing. You know, some people would think that branding is just a lot of bull. Well, I'm here to tell you that I hope you're convinced otherwise before we're finished. So I have a quiz for you to take. Guess that brand. And I'm just going to flash some brands on here. I want you just to look at them. If you know what they mean, think about it. Just a few more. Okay, got them. Away they go. And now it's time for the quiz. If I can make it work. Lots of challenges with this. Okay, here we go. What I would like you to do is mark the following brands which were not represented. So you are able to do, and this is anonymous, so you don't have to worry about getting it wrong, but just if you don't remember seeing the brand, then mark it. So go ahead and start doing that. Okay, you can mark more than one. In fact, you should be marking several. And okay, we'll stop right there. And here are the results. So this is what you said, and these were the ones that actually were not the brands that were on there. Texaco, you got that right. Coca-Cola wasn't there. Dell wasn't there. Adidas wasn't there. Burger King, and okay. Burger King and TJ Maxx was not there as well. So at least one person got each of them, and none of you chose one that was there. So I guess that's a good sign. So I will stop that. Didn't turn out exactly how I thought it would, but nor does many things with using technology. So here's a question I have for you. Why do you remember them? And why did they work so hard to develop them and then to protect them? And the answer to that is obvious. There's name recognition. You see that symbol that represents them, and you automatically think of them, and they benefit by you thinking of them whether you're buying gas or soft drinks or computers. And so they have done a lot to make you conscious of them. And when they see that symbol, that apple, automatically you have something that comes to mind. And so in a way, that is going to be an important aspect of what a brand is for people. So here's the question: what is a brand, and how do I create one? Those are the 2 points we're going to be looking at this evening, and hopefully being able to answer both of those. So what is it? This is a definition from David Ogilvy. I'm sure you all know of David Ogilvy, the father of advertising. I'm joking, never had heard of him before, but anyway, he defined brand as the intangible sum of a product's attributes. Intangible sum of a product's attributes, and kind of an intangible is soft. What do you do with that? The dictionary of brand defines it as a person's perception of a product, service, experience, or organization. So if we were to apply that to a person, it's kind of a shortcut way to remember someone as the iconic sum of all the perceptions of their attributes. And for example, just you're trying to remember, someone's trying to tell you, do you know so-and-so? Well, I'm not sure. He's the one or she's the one that, oh, I know that person. And so we do it all the time. It's something that happens frequently. So the question is not, should we have a brand? It's important to recognize that everyone has one. The important thing is to manage it so that it does for us what we would like it to do. There are some benefits to having a brand besides and managing it besides just having one and having people being able to recognize us by it. The process of deciding how I would like to be known is a process of exploring and discovery that is really helpful for us. It helps to clarify who we are in our own minds. It gives us self-confidence when we start realizing that we have strengths, we have attributes that are positive, and we're not afraid for people to know us by them. It gives us purpose and direction. As we get as we do our job and develop that, we get more clarity as far as what we want to do and why. It guides in making decisions. There are so many options drawing us and attracting us, and if a person isn't careful, they end up just kind of going in circles. And so when we have a clear definition of where we would like to be and go, and can say, yes, this would fit into that, no, this would not, then it helps us in making decisions and staying on track. It gives us a way of communicating clearly with others about who we are and what our goals are. And that's probably one of the very obvious, useful things that come out of having a brand that is well developed. So, how can I create one? And that is probably why all of you are here. And hopefully we will be going through some steps that will bring some clarity to you. By the way, I'm not really good at watching the chat. So if you have a question, I really don't mind if you unmute yourself and ask. So I should have made that clear at the beginning, but I didn't. So there are 3 steps in creating one. Oh, first, before that, it should be simple, whatever it is. It needs to be something that that's memorable. If it's quickly forgotten, then it's not going to really do much for us. And then finally, it should be representative of who we are, who we want to be. And so those are kind of characteristics of a good brand. 3 steps. Number 1, learn about yourself. who are you really? And and we spend a lifetime learning about ourselves, and it's not always something we do willingly, but it's an important part of figuring this out. Number two, we want to draft a mission statement. That's our private statement of our goal and the direction that we want to go. And then finally, the branding statement, which is our public statement of who we want to be. This is what we tell people. And so that's kind of where we're working toward. So let's go to learning about ourselves and talk about that for a little bit. Number one, it needs to be authentic. This isn't something that you imagine yourself being. It's not something that you wish you could be if you could be, but really, truly who you are. And that's important. It's important to know that. It should reflect values and goals, what you think is important, what really matters to you, what energizes you, what makes you different, and how can you make a difference. Next, knowing about strengths, interests, and skills. And these are things that are unique for each of us. A lot of times with a little digging and thinking, we can discover those, or some of them at least. Sometimes we need to explore those with friends or family just to have a conversation. What strengths do you have me? Do you see me having? You can go to a career counselor, and that's a large part of what we do in helping people choose a career direction, is to identify these areas and then look for occupations or career directions that would match. And one of the things that we can offer is to use assessments in helping in identifying these. And then lastly, how people perceive you. This is an important thing for you to know. What have they told you in the past? What have people told you in the past? I actually heard one lady provided a workshop who every 5 years surveys her friends and asks questions, some key questions about their perception of her. It's anonymous, of course. I don't know that I would myself go to that level of research, but it's an interesting thought. One thing she mentioned was she found that their perception of her was that she was very shy, and she decided that that wasn't how she wished to be known. And so over the next 5 years, she worked to become more outgoing and open with other people. And as a result of that, when she did the survey the next time, it came back closer to how she perceived herself and how she wished to be perceived. So this is about where you are currently. And after you've done something like this, kind of worked on this for a while, taken an inventory of yourself, the question is, how does this match up? Are there conflicts between some of the information that's there? How can you resolve it? And kind of working toward that. We, of course, don't have time to do that in this workshop this evening. We'd spend the whole rest of the time just getting started on that. But I have an activity that I think can kind of give you a start. So hopefully you have a piece of paper and something to write with, or you can do it on your computer or your phone or whatever. But I'd like you to think of 5 words that describe you. And this is just a beginning, and you're not going to be sharing this on this workshop, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm just going to have some words popping up here to maybe give you some ideas, but just take a minute, see how you can do. Just 5 words that you think represent who you are. Okay, I'll give you about 5, 10 more seconds. All right. Sometimes it's easier than other times. Sometimes it's really difficult. But I would say this is a good, easy place to begin. Just think of words that you think you've heard people say, ways that you think of yourself, and it's just a good place to begin. So we're going to move from this now. That's the first step that we looked at. The second step is to draft a mission statement. And this gets a little bit complicated, but not too bad. I think this is looks like a sharp group, and I think you can do this. So let's go with some things we need to know about them. It needs to be short and easy to remember. Remember, this is for ourselves. This is our own private statement. It is always a draft. It's always subject to refinement and change. In fact, that's a good thing. As we change, as our goals change, as we become more clear about what we want, where we would like to go, it should be subject to change and refinement. So one thing I would encourage you to do with that in mind, don't wait until you have it all figured out. Just get something down. And so that's once you want something down, from that point on, you're refining it and changing it and making it fit you better. This mission statement should be something that's meaningful to you. Doesn't matter if it is for anyone else. It should be reflective of your values and life goals. What really energizes you, excites you, engages, that you feel enthusiastic and passionate about? What do you love to do? And how are you different from other people, your friends? It should define a direction of what success is for you. What, your definition of success is going to be different than other people's. And so allowing yourself to be unique and to think about those important aspects. It should be useful. It should be clear enough that it can be used to define a focus, and so that you can keep, and as I mentioned before, is this moving me toward my goal, or is it moving me away from my goal? Sometimes just choosing a major, if I have a goal, looking at it and saying, is this moving me toward it, or will it move me away from it? If the major is really important and it's not moving me toward my goal, maybe I need to look at my goal and say, well, wait, there seems to be a conflict here. Maybe I need to reevaluate this. There is a formula to make it easy or difficult if you're the kind that likes to do your own thing, but this shows 3 components, but it can be a good place to begin at least. And the first part is to use, and what specifically of your attributes, your knowledge, your strengths, your skills, your interests, that's what you're going to be using to accomplish something. What is that desired outcome, that goal? And then for what or whom? It can be a purpose or a group of people And the more clear it is, when you write this out, the better it will be in guiding you in that direction, keeping you on track. So I want to show you some examples of possible mission statements. And so here's the first one: to help people. Okay, this would not be a good one. It doesn't really tell me how I want to help people. It doesn't tell me what people we're talking about. Is it young people, old people, immigrants, geriatric grandparent type? Who is it? So it doesn't really tell. It's just too general, and it won't work. Won't really give you a direction. Okay, here is another one: to make the world a healthier place. Okay, that gives a little more clarity here about this part. What is the goal to be accomplished? Even that is a little generic. It doesn't tell how or where. It doesn't tell us whom we are targeting, and it doesn't tell what we have that will be useful in making that happen. So that's better than the first one, but still not very good. So let's guess what? They seem to be getting better. And if that was your perception, good. To use my problem-solving skills to develop innovative healthcare solutions that increase access for underserved populations in our region. How about that? Does that give direction? Do you feel like that points in like thinking of a needle, a compass on a needle on a compass, where it points in one direction? And you can look at that and saying, okay, I recognize I have good problem solving skills. If I'm developing those and working for those, healthcare seems to be something that's really important. Might help us in deciding on a major. Population groups, maybe if I'm looking at getting summer work or taking classes in anthropology or whatever that help me understand groups of people better, and just working in that direction wherever I can, building the road that leads to the outcome that I am hoping to achieve. So that's a good example of a mission statement. And I hope that makes good sense to you. And again, this is a real defining process. And when you can put it down, it really helps clarify who you are and where you're going. And actually, in researching for this, when I first was working on this presentation, I did one for myself. And I'm not going to share it necessarily, but it did. It's kind of like I've got something there that's solid, and I look at it and it says, yeah, that describes, helps me understand why I do what I do and why it matters to me. Okay, so now that we've got, this is, remember again, our private statement. This is something that guides us. It isn't that we can't share it with other people. It's that isn't its purpose, but it's primarily for our. So okay. Next, finally, we get to the personal branding pitch, and I think pitch is a little. I don't know. I've seen statement. I think statement would probably be a better way of looking at it, but even then, it's not a rote memory kind of thing. Even like the mission statement, it has different parts that we'll be looking at, and we are able to mix and match and use them to match the situation that we find ourselves in. So here's some information about this. This again is working toward our public statement, the first impression when we first meet someone, how we introduce ourselves, talk about ourselves. It needs to be quick and effective, simple, focused. It's really about getting a conversation going. It's not about answering every question they ever had. If it does that, we failed. So it needs to reflect your mission statement. So whatever it is, this is the part that I'm telling other people. And it's a brief introduction of who you are. By the way, this usually takes anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds. But typically I've found it isn't something you're going to just rattle off at one point in time. There's usually an introduction, a question, a response, a question, a response, and over the period of time, these are the things we're going to be talking about. What you do, what you've done, what you plan to do, and qualifications and skills. Those are all components that you're going to be including there. Goal is to get their attention, but short enough that they want to know more. If they feel like they know everything they need to know, that's not good. So here are the components that I break it down into to think about. First, that introduction, usually your name, maybe it's where you are at this point in time, and we'll look at some examples to guide you in that. The next part is about your goals and objectives, and then explaining why this matters to you, and then how you plan to accomplish this. So in my mind, I think of meeting someone you haven't met before, maybe at a career fair. I hope those will return post-COVID, where employers from all around the region come and talk to our students, interviewing to hire. And this is a way of just introducing yourself, letting them know who you are and what you're interested in. But it's thought through. It isn't a rote memory. It isn't memorized. It's the concepts are all there. You know what it is that you want to communicate. Okay, so let me just make sure. Oh, some notes I have down is it's a good idea to practice this out loud, maybe in front of a mirror or to a friend. You want practice, but not polish. You don't want it to sound like this is just a memorized statement of things. You want it to be adaptable, flexible, but not the rambling, not sure. On the other hand, you don't want it to be rigid. So those are the two of things you're trying to avoid. Another goal is to gain confidence in yourself. As you talk about this and it's authentic, you become more confident in that you're talking about something that's real, not something you're just pretending. And if you feel like you're an imposter, that these things really aren't true, then look it over again. Are they true? Do you need to accept it and accept yourself that these are qualities that you have? So you want to appear friendly and confident. And you want to be prepared to, in some way, share contact information, whether like a business card or LinkedIn, connecting on LinkedIn or connecting in some way on the spot, because when people can express themselves this way, it can be very attractive to potential employers or people who want to help students who know where they want to go and how they want to get there. So here we go. This is an example of one. So the introduction part, I am a junior at Central Washington University majoring in biology and public policy with minors in business and public health. Okay, that's the first value. Oh, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit about that. And then the next thing is, I would really like to help make healthcare more accessible for low socioeconomic people groups. And then to explain why. You know, my own family experience in my 3 years as a receptionist in a rural clinic, I have noticed how difficult it is for many people to access healthcare. And then how would you accomplish this? I'm a very creative problem solver and would like to use this strength to identify barriers and develop strategies to reduce their impact. So you kind of get the picture. I hope, you know, again, this isn't a workshop. I wish it were, that we had 3 or 4 hours and we could sit down and kind of hammer out something tangible. But it takes time. And if you can just jot down some notes about what you are trying to do and start the process, you can't go in the wrong direction if you keep going. Okay, I think the next slide is just kind of a graphic illustration of what's happening and where I'm using each part. So when two people first meet, maybe again at a career fair or you're doing an informational interview, you're going to introduce yourself, the part about where you are, what you're doing, student, planning to graduate, at what point, and so they introduce themselves. Then you maybe, and this is just one way, but maybe you give your goal an objective portion. And if you do it in the right way, they're going to ask a question about it. And then from that point on, you're responding to those questions, explaining why, and then how you plan to do it. So it isn't just a lecture where you are holding them hostage for, you know, 30 seconds, a minute, where they're starting to look at their clock and looking for a way to escape. You don't want that to be the case. So I have a couple other simple examples of students branding pitch, but anyway, here, just so you kind of get a picture. My name is Dale. I will be graduating this spring from Central Washington University with a degree in chemistry. I love chemistry and also have a desire to make a difference in the health field. I would like to find a career that connects these doing something in medical research and development. You know, pretty simple. You might not state it in that way, although you might, because there are different circumstances. For example, let's say that you were introducing yourself to a group. Maybe you were going to be making a presentation. And so it might be something that you just were able to share. And again, it has some flexibility, but you know what the components are, you know what you're communicating and what the goal is. Okay, and here's one last example. Hello, my name is Sam. I'm very interested in increasing access to healthcare for underserved populations. I would like to use my law and justice degree to influence policy and create programs that could accomplish this. You know, and that is simple enough for this person. And again, it's something you're always able to refine and improve and change. So what we've tried to do is kind of give you a better idea of what a brand is. And we talked about how it's kind of an intangible sum of attributes, a perception that people have of one another. And it's just looking at that and saying, how do I want to be thought of? When I introduce myself and make that first impression, what is it that I would like them to leave thinking about me? And then secondly, how do we create one? We talked about the 3 steps: learning about yourself, drafting a mission statement, creating a personal branding pitch, and how to put that all together. And we looked at a process of, typical in a conversational way of making this known. And that is the goal, that it will be we will be so comfortable with it that we can easily carry on a conversation. And that is the end. It is always a draft. You're never finished. It's not like, there, that's done. I'm done with this for the next 20 years, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 20 days, but it's always something you're working